Greetings, this is Timothy Halloran. We are into December 2019. In these videos, we're talking about the nature of the times. Today is Wednesday, December 11th. Now, as I've been mentioning, these times are considerably real, a little intense, quite serious. And this is to let us know in the greater scheme of things where we are. So no, it's not just doom and gloom. However, in these videos, we're stereotypically talking about the energetic influences as they're going on in these couple of weeks, focused loosely on the new and full moon cycles. And as we're going into 2020, we're talking about some deep, underlaying, long-term, major cycles. We're going to be discussing some more considerably serious themes. And again, this is to share that good grace that now is the time. We can be getting down to work. We can be touching down to the bottom of the barrel. And no, you're not crazy if you're having any of these experiences. I mean, my goodness, even our most stereotypical love and light people. Our Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, having just entered Capricorn December 2nd. Our fairy-like Libras, ruled by Venus, joined with Saturn and Pluto this week. Even our Pisces souls that are naturally sensitive to the overall collective energy themes can really be tuned into how important, how deep, how meaningful not only these times are in our individual lives, but we are at the crux of a major turning point in terms of humanity's overall evolution and in terms of how humanity is structuring and orienting its own societies, its own structures, and how we are exchanging and living together as human beings. So I'll make the comment that to my peers speaking love and light, commenting on these particular times, these folks will likely always be speaking about love and light. And I'm sure there's some goodness there, and there's probably some, unhealthy dynamics there as well. Now, Chiron takes the stage this week, Thursday, December 12th, stationing direct at 1 degrees of the sign of Aries. This is the first time Chiron is stationing direct in Aries since the 1970s. Now, this Chiron stationing in Aries is majorly igniting this call to action. And we'll be discussing a full moon in Gemini taking place tomorrow that can really be kicking off a hell of a political year of 2020. And so this Chiron stationing in Aries, again, is calling us to take action. The full moon in Gemini is rather verbal. We can be compelled to take a stand for our ideas. And there's an overall theme of healing and recognizing our individual will to honor our uniqueness, to honor our differences, to be an individual. We are now healing our individuality, which is to say, restoring our confidence to initiate our own direction via our willpower, our integrity, our desire, our drive. We are healing the courage to be a leader, which is to actualize our own independent direction, even to use the tension, the heaviness of the current times to ignite this inner flame of passion that is driving us to actualize our purpose and our direction in this life. So in other words, we can also be learning and exploring, experimenting and healing how to use the times, how to use this natural tension, which will be causing a cross of lines. This full moon in Gemini is always a very political, debatey full moon, okay? So we have these differences. We have this underlying tension, and certainly there's this underlying pressure, okay? And so we're learning how to use this pressure, use this tension, even to use our own instinctual reactivity or our own anger in healthy ways. Okay. Now, anger, as we already likely know, because anger is usually thrown into only being bad or only being negative, it can be a very destructive emotion. It's very unhealthy for our hearts and our bodies to be in a constant state of rage, like a boiling kettle. So that's not a correct use of anger. We're using to harness our own passion, our own willpower. And passion can be any emotion, anywhere on the full spectrum of emotions, good, bad, ugly. We're inspired by this cause, or we're pissed off by what we're seeing or experiencing in the world. Either can be a jet fuel for this development of the leader, the initiator, and this courage to use what we're seeing in the world to make these course corrections, to find what leaders are needed to be, what it is that we're needed to teach, what it is that we as individuals can initiate or can provide in our world. So it's actually healthy, right, to have outrage by what we're seeing and experiencing in the world, or that natural tension we may have with others, but we're learning to use it in a constructive way to bring that anger, that passion, that energy into a container where we're building something, we're creating something constructive, rather than destroying our own bodies or blaming or taking our aggressive out on another particular individual, in which case we end up wasting our own time. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of a controversial example here, but I feel compelled because in my prior video, I mentioned Greta Thornburg, okay, the current young leading environmental activist that's been a very controversial figure. Because there are people saying Greta Thunberg's all negative and she's angry and she's evil and she's mean and she's working for the cabal and she's working for darkness and she's spreading this message of doom and gloom. And Timothy, why are you speaking about Greta Thunberg? You shouldn't be getting involved in politics. So first of all, I need to make a very important distinction, particularly as we're entering the 2020s. And again, what I'm going to continue speaking about in these videos is going to continue to address these deeper important issues. It's going to be serious time. I mean, we've got things we need to address, okay? Personally, what I view as the natural drive to throw under the leader who is being angry, being passionate, and calling the world out for its disorders and diseases is in itself a disease. Okay, I call this the disease of overly self-righteousness, which has stemmed from the last 2,000 years of distorted spiritual teachings in the age of Pisces. Okay. What this collective disease does is we take any of our leaders' inspirational figures and we throw them under the bus for not being perfect, for not being sages or godlike or Jesus-like, and we shoot ourselves in the foot through this endeavor, okay? Our leaders aren't going to be perfect. We're not going to be perfect. That doesn't mean that we can't lead. That doesn't mean that we cannot send a good message. So an important distinguishment. Timothy, in my individual client sessions, by the way, 15% off right now on individual readings. In my client sessions, I enter a counseling space. I am not political. You are invited to have any political perspectives, any spiritual religious perspectives. I'm not going to speak, address, or try to change your own political, spiritual agendas in my counseling client sessions. I'll meet you where you're at. I probably won't bring those things up unless in some way, some of those beliefs or ideas or ontologies are being harmful to you. And unfortunately, there are many spiritual ideologies which can cause harm to a person. I would not directly attack those beliefs in a reading. I more than likely would indirectly give permission to live in a healthier way. For example, there may be a better way to forgive yourself for your sins than self-flagellation. Okay? In these videos, when I'm speaking to YouTube, I am a figurehead, I am a leader, I'm going to be political, I'm going to be controversial, I'm going to be pointing out these collective dynamics, even if it will rub some people the wrong way or create some of that friction. I see that as being a healthy, necessary friction, particularly in the New Age movement where this disease of over-righteousness is prevalent. Then we put people up on a pedestal for being over love and light, and we are like lemmings following the figurehead off of a cliff. Okay, so anyways, that's my 2 cents. Okay, Greta Thornburg sending a good message. My guess is she's not perfect. My guess is her parents are not perfect. That does not mean that we should throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. Okay, this was my example of healing, how we're using passion, even anger or aggressiveness, to use that passion constructively. And each and every one of us is on a crash course of doing this in highly independent ways. There are fight types and there are non-fight types. There are people that would rather use that passion or energy in different ways, and that's okay. Rather, we're honoring what are those desires, what are those passions, what is our own independent, individual nature. There will be people who will disagree with what I'm saying or what I'm leading or what I'm initiating, and that's wonderful. That's okay. We're each finding our own direction, our own journey to heal ourselves. This is what Aries is about, the journey of self-discovery. And our own individual desires, individual reactions, right? Some people will react differently to what I just said than others, and that is giving us each a clue to our own programming, our own individual truth, our individual direction. You probably just heard the fact that Mercury, just entering Sagittarius, is now in a disseminating trine to Chiron, stationing direct. There's a bit of a taking a stand, getting up on our soapbox, letting our truth be heard. That way we can reorient ourselves to our individual truth and take up these new directions or these initiations. Now, this has also been where there's been so much collective wounding. Okay, we're not really encouraged to be individuals. I know here in America we have individualism. It's kind of a part of the culture more so here, but at the same time, there's all these collective stigmas. What a man's supposed to be, what a woman's supposed to be. Yes, there are American programs, what a successful man, woman, etc. is supposed to be. And this is where we can be experiencing these wounds, these blocks, and the necessary revealing of how to get out of our own way. Now, with Mars being in the sign of Scorpio, and so much is ruled by Saturn right now, Pluto in Saturn sign of Capricorn, Jupiter, Venus, all in Saturn sign of Capricorn. Again, there's this real getting down to business. What really matters, this total reprioritization and restructuring is taking place at this time. And with that Mars in Scorpio, Chiron stationing in Aries, this can also bring us straight into sexual desires. The same passion, instinctual reactivity, instinctual attraction, repulsion. I've got to have this. I've got to get away from this. I love this. I need this. I hate this. I can't stand this. This comes from this Scorpio, Martian, largely unconscious drive. Yes, Mars are our bodily, physical, sexual desires that are the leading edge of our deeper, unconscious, soul-level desires. So those instinctual attraction repulsions, those phobias, those sexual fetishes, those fears are connected to our deeper, more hidden, more unconscious evolutionary journey. Every single human being's sexuality is unique. Again, we live in a world where there are terrifically imposed sexual stigmas. Oh, you're a man, be like G.I. Joe, be like a Marlboro Man, be a player, be mean, be angry, don't be emotional, don't be intimate, don't be sensitive. Oh, you're a woman, be Betty Crocker, be soft and nice and submissive and feminine, and don't be overbearing, don't be in charge. These are all pervasive societal gender stigmas, expectations, and obligations, and all of these conditions, all of these forces that came onto us from the rest of the world, mom and dad, older, younger siblings, the rest of the family, etc., can get very much in the way of our unique individual sexual expression. What the heck that individual self-expression is, why do we have these desires or these kinks or these fears, leads us into a journey of Aries, self-exploration, self-discovery. In many respects, we need a safe container to be able to explore these fears, phobias, or desires to see where they come from, and then heal ourselves, heal our nature, get back into our natural sense of who we are. But I got to admit, there's not a lot of education or understanding or direction in terms of how to heal this passion, this individuality. Yes, this is the divine masculine, which we are healing in men and women across the world at this time. Chiron is in Aries now through 2026. And this is one of those major revolutionary signatures and indicators going on this next decade. The last time Chiron was in Aries was 1968 to 1976. Right when Chiron entered Aries this last time was around the Martin Luther King assassination here in the United States. Very revolutionary, groundbreaking time, as is the next period that we are just entering at the start of 2020. Now, speaking of this lack of education, this need to heal our own sexuality, I need to plug my own partner, Mackenzie, who is doing this sexual healing work, and she is just starting to extend her services. And so if this is a dynamic, an area, a struggle for you, feel free to get in contact with Mackenzie at the link below, and she offers tantric sessions for men or women. So to be able to heal and restore the confidence, the energy, the mojo to feel very, very good and safe in your own individual and natural sexuality. Okay, and I'll come back to that at the end of this video as well. But first, full moon in Gemini, 19 degrees of the sign of the trickster, tomorrow, December 12th. Again, ruled by Mercury, having just entered Sagittarius on December 9th in a disseminating trine to Chiron. This full moon's also square to Neptune. Okay, quincunx to Venus, Saturn, and Pluto. Mercury semi-square to Venus, Saturn, and Pluto. So there's again this theme of experimenting. This is a full moon on the north node of Uranus. There is a highly restless, experimental, we're trying to find it, but it's not quite there. I like to phrase this as divine dissatisfaction, associated with the archetype of Uranus, Aquarius, that inner flame, that pioneering vision to keep going, keep discovering, keep experimenting. It's almost like this eternal Rubik's Cube. And we're turning, and we can be making new discoveries, making new revelations, but every time we do, there's more information that comes and more things to figure out. So yeah, there's a lot of shaping, a lot of restructuring. Again, Venus is joined with Saturn and Pluto this week as well. So there's this theme of the pressure to change our overall orientation, and not just with who, but how we're exchanging, we're connecting, we're sharing, we're collaborating our own vital life force, our ideas. Absolutely, this has to do with money. There can be a number of money challenges, as well as, again, that Rubik's Cube-like dynamic, how we can figure out creative solutions, how we're exchanging energy, how we're working with our peers, how we're working with our partners to establish this long-term vision. Saturn is all about that longevity, planning for the future. Jupiter's in Saturn's sign this whole next year. And there's this step-by-step, long-term vision, how we're laying the road. Do we have enough money? Do we have enough resources? One layer after the next, carving and constructing our way forward. So there's this big reprogramming, and it plays out much in relationships, money, and fundamental energy exchange, with Venus forming new cycles with both Saturn and Pluto beginning today, Wednesday, December 11th, through Friday the 13th, is when this fundamental reset button is most potently and poignantly being experienced as we're resetting and finding this fundamental orientation. Again, who are we taking a stand with? How are we taking this stand? And how are we fundamentally changing how we're living and functioning in our greater world and society? So this brings us straight into the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, kicking off our year of 2020. This conjunction is exact January 12th, but folks, we're already in it. This is one of the major cycles birthing this next decade to come, and we're already going through this black hole. Again, there's a gravity, there's a pressure that's forcing us to reprioritize. It's about a fundamental restructuring of goals, orientation, particularly as they are related to societal constructs. Saturn, Capricorn. We're talking about intergenerational obligations, expectations, how our parents lived their lives versus how we're going to be living our lives from this point forward. That's how major this turning point is for humanity right now. So we're looking at generational karma, generational cause and effect, many decades, many centuries of cause and effect, how we've built our society from the ground up, what's working and what's failing, what changes are necessary for the survival of our species. Yes, there's an apocalyptic feeling and experience and dynamic in our world. No, you're not crazy for having that pit of depression or anxiety or fear if you are sensitive to the collective at this time. No, you don't need to always see the glass half full, love and light. I personally don't see that as being realistic or helpful in this greater, more complex human condition and reality in which we are born. Yes, we have bodies. Yes, we're in three-dimensional time, and we're having to do the three-dimensional problem solving to move through these obstacles. The good news is it's not actually the end of the world, though it may seem like it. And we're not getting dropped off in the middle of nowhere, even though we may be feeling heavier or more depressed. The way that I like to reframe these experiences is to embrace the heaviness, embrace the obstacles, embrace the challenges. The more we try to avoid, bypass, or escape the realness of these times, the more it's going to bite us in the ass. Or we can bypass and put these issues and problems onto others, onto our children, onto future generations. And I'm not going to say that that's a healthier or a more noble endeavor, though we may be able to get away with it. So again, we all kind of have to get down to business, get down to the nitty-gritty details, but in so doing, this is a tremendously productive time. We are breaking through these blockages, these old fears, these old coping mechanisms that we could have been stuck in for decades. We could have been stuck in up until this particular time in my life, our life, mine and yours, my guess. Look at the degrees. We're talking about 20, 21, these early degrees of Capricorn, 20 to 23 degrees Cap. In what house is this degree in your birth chart is going to give you a major indication of where this overhaul, this restructuring, and this from the ground up reprioritization is taking place in your life. At this time, we can be dealing with this sense that, it's looking kind of bleak. We may not have all the answers at this time, may be feeling a little bit empty-handed. And what I would say, if you're having this experience, is not to give up. It's not a sign of failure. It's not a sign that you're doing anything wrong. It may seem like the universe is keeping something from us or holding us at bay or putting all this pressure on. No, it's not just a punishment. No, you haven't just messed up your past life. This has a deeper evolutionary intention, okay, that we get into this tension, that we confront these challenges and find the creative solutions by getting into them, even if we don't have that perfect quick fix, instant win or have every step of the way figured out. No, we may have that sense that we're going into the unknown, that we're stepping off into a black hole or taking a trust fall off of a cliff. This is the initiation. It's the initiation into your new life. You being a leader, you being a teacher, you being an authority. This is how it begins, okay? Not always totally clear when we're at the beginning of a new cycle. Can be a sense of uncertainty, can be a sense of where do we go from here. You're not insane by having these feelings or experiences. Do not lose faith. Do not lose hope. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not disconnected. In fact, you're so connected. You're sharing this experience with so many other leaders, authorities, and healers that are preparing to initiate, and we're all preparing, and there's this inner-outer tension. That's a part of this Venus-Pluto-Saturn new cycle as well. It's not just the relationship between ourselves and others, the exchange of energy or money on the outside. It's about inner exchange. It's about inner relationship. We're forming new relationships of inner support. We're being our own parents. We're being our own teachers. We're being our own authorities. We're giving ourselves pats on the back for the good work that we're recognizing, even if that work is not recognized, celebrated, or honored by others on the outside. It's not a sign of failure. It's not a sign of you doing anything wrong. It is the initiation into this new phase of your life. And so I gotta say, it can pay off to take risks. It can pay off not to invest in simply the old, safe way. This is what I'm going to say is one of the major dynamics of this Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Watch for this dynamic in yourself, in your lovers, soul tribe, soul family, of any dimension, anywhere. Watch the world. This overall theme can be coming up, and it is the tension between conforming or settling to what is known, familiar, the past, and transformation, rebellion, changing, fundamental overhaul. And we can all, especially this week with Venus, Saturn, Pluto, be experiencing this inner tension, this outer tension, this relationship tension. It feels so much safer to go back into the old ruts, the old dynamics. I'll be a man this way. You'll be a woman this way. I'll earn money this way. You'll earn money this way. This is my role in the family. This is how other people see me. We can really be noticing these old mechanisms, these old coping dynamics, these old addictions, these old ruts, okay, where the needle in the album can just get stuck in this loop. And that creates a tension where our soul is, sick of it. I've been here, I've done this, I've been in this role, I've played it safe, I've played this game, I've played this gender, I've played this sexual way, I've done this way of earning money, I've done this role in this group, in this relationship. Time to change. It's like an extinction level event is kind of what we can be sensing here. Like, I can't survive while I'm lacking this. I've lacked it for too long. So again, there's this tension. Because in somewhat, we have to discover those creative solutions. Like, we can't just be radically a totally different person. We can't just be Jesus Christ or the Buddha or Krishna, though we may aspire to that. So there's the human level that's here. Okay, how to be a human in relationship. Can't just be Jesus sacrificing, unconditionally loving, throwing ourselves under the bus, trying to rescue, save every person that enters our life. Obviously, human needs, little ego, little me, very, very important part of human life. And at the same time, we can't just be all me, all greed, all money, all my security, all my comfort, just doing things that old mechanical man or woman type of way, because then we feel claustrophobic, we feel stagnated, we feel empty, we feel isolated, we feel there's no purpose to life, and we wonder why, because we've lost our source of life. We've lost our soul, all right? So that's what we're doing. Again, it can look a little bleak right now. You're not insane. There's a bit of this divine dissatisfaction with this full moon on the north node of Uranus. My Mercury's on that north node of Uranus. So for those who know me personally, yes, this is part of my own insanity, and we can be collectively feeling this insanity, this unsettlingness, and this drive to see things differently in the future, how it could be done. So there's this uncertainty, this scrambling, this, okay, we'll do it differently. We've got to form it. We've got to structure it. And there's a lot of potential through this experimentation, through the conversations. Yes, we have to go there. Yes, sometimes we will create tension. We will hurt each other sometimes for being individuals, for being different people with different ideas, different philosophies, different backgrounds, different experiences. There will be people who agree with what I say, and there will be people who are triggered by what I'm saying. And if you're triggered by what I'm saying, it says nothing's wrong with you. We are learning through these interactions, these experiences together. So again, don't lose faith. It's not like how in India they said an eclipse is when the sun's swallowed by a demon. The sun's not literally being swallowed by a demon. It's an eclipse. The light's being blocked out by something. And that's what we're having the opportunity to see through the mechanism of having the light blocked. What's blocking the light? What's cutting us off from our soul, ourselves, our deeper creativity, our deeper innocence? And so we are having the opportunity to clearly say, aha, this is the block. That's the old societal construct. There's that mechanical self-identity. There's that old expectation. It's like how when we go out there in the world, or we do our job, or we do our relationship, sometimes it doesn't seem like it's us at all. And sometimes it seems like we're just playing with sock puppets. Oh, hello, I'm an astrologer. Everything you want to hear, so that way you like me. And it's like, this is what we're having to see. We're killing ourselves. We're cutting ourselves short. We're not being true to ourselves. So there is this greater opportunity to recognize those shadow puppets in ourselves, in our world, and those expectations and obligations. And there is the opportunity to do this fundamental reprogramming happening now through the start of 2020. That way we can reclaim our truth, our real life, our nature, our 2 feet on the earth, breathing our connection to nature. Yes, having our tether to our hearts, to the deeper earth, to what really matters. Why is humanity on the planet at this particular time? What is that call? What is our own need? And ultimately, by being individuals. See, I say focus on being an individual, focus on your desires, focus on healing your sexuality. Again, check out Mackenzie or get a reading from myself. We talk about your soul as a unique individual, not trying to get you to be or believe anything else. And by actualizing your total individuality, this is my nature. This is how I was created naturally. We discover those God-given talents, traits, gifts that are natural to us. They're enjoyable. It's not just like doing hard work. It's not like selling our soul. We are honoring our nature, and by honoring our unique and individual nature, we will discover those gifts which we can offer as a service back to the world, back to the collective, which fills us up, gives us deeper meaning, deeper significance, more energy, more connection to our hearts, our source. By being connected to something bigger than just ourselves, while honoring our uniqueness and our individual God-given talents and traits simultaneously. So big months, powerful years, exciting times, and excited to continue the conversation. So I'm wishing absolutely all the best to your beloveds. I'm going to try to remember the more stuff I'm going to plug. Check out New Paradigm Astrology. We're doing a huge raffle giveaway. I'm doing a mini raffle from my last video. You can still get a raffle ticket from myself. I'll announce the winners in a few days. I know it's a little temporarily delayed. I'm juggling a lot of things these days with that Venus, Saturn, Pluto. New Paradigm Astrology, we're giving away $10,000 of prizes. You can win a reading from myself. I'm giving away several workshops. I'm giving away a year's subscription to my Patreon page where I do extra videos, monthly calendar. I do a monthly Q&A where you can ask any questions about your chart, astrology, or anywhere in between. And again, check out New Paradigm Astrology where you can enter this overall raffle. You can win a ticket to Costa Rica, joining myself and 7 other amazing astrologers for a full week of astrology, all you can eat, food, room included. So there's opportunities out there. There are new visions and directions just waiting to be birthed. And my friends, we are entering the most exciting, revolutionary, and pioneering decade to come. And so a little bit of a loaded spring-like dynamic with that tension, this reprioritization, but that spring's going to lift off. Exciting times on the horizon. So again, I'm going to turn off that motor mouth, but again, wishing you all the best, and we will continue to participate in this evolution and revolution going on in the years to come.